Alright, seat goes on and off. I got the release mechanism set up and the legs made, so here's how it goes on and off. Click it, a little tricky to rock back, front out, and it's out. And to go back in, reverse order. There you go. So now that we have the cowl, I can get started on the seat pan here. And if anybody's been following along to this point, you kind of know what I've done with the seat mount or the seat release latch. So I'm going to actually have to have two lugs that extend into each of these holes here. And this is going to be tricky, but I need to make sure the seat can actually reach these lugs, come up and out past the cowl. It's not going to be a real straightforward design. I'm going to have to do a lot of bending of some material. It's going to be pretty fab heavy, but I'm hoping to make it work really in a clean manner. In my initial plan, I'm going to have obviously a flat plate here for the pan. It's going to have a kick up, and then from the back, about right here, I'm going to have two legs extending out with a 90-degree bend that attach in the actual lock right here. And I'm hoping that once you release it, the seat can flip up and rock back past the cowl here, and my front latch will be like out of there. So I'm hoping I can make it all work. Actually, I say I hope I can make it all work, but I'm gonna make it all work. So I don't know why I say that. Alright, so it's time to go ahead and lock in the front mount here. And to do that, I just cut a piece of 3/16 steel. So this is going to fit right in here on the shock mount. And I'll give it a bend to kind of like hook in. That way the whole seat pan can lift out like that. And it can have clearance to rock, you know, the front mount to rock itself out around there. We'll see how it works. I'll only tack this in place right now because I won't know if that works until we get the rear mount made, so I know how the seat's going to come off the bike. But that's what we're working on now, and I'll probably just continue with the time lapse going here. Alright, so I've got some things to consider here, some tips for building a seat pan. Now, if you're going to go this far and you're going to build a pan, you want it to fit nice, you're going to take your time here. So one thing to consider is whenever you build a seat pan and you then go to have it upholstered, that material is going to wrap around the seat pan itself, so you need to account for that thickness. Now, one thing I do is I find some cardboard, or just like this is just some shipping foam. I've set it down on the frame so the seat pan is actually spaced up the correct amount, or an approximate amount of the material that it'll eventually be wrapped in. And this is actually something that really helps your upholsterer, or you know, if you do it yourself, it just helps make that job easier too, because if you go ahead and make the time and make the effort to make sure it fits now, then there's not going to have to be any adjustment after you get the seat upholstered. So that's something, you got to think ahead on this. And so as you lift this up, it's also going to put a gap here. So, nothing special there. Now, I'm going to try to get this all in one shot here. I've mounted the seat. I've got it on my marks. And I'm not going to go, full blown on this. I'm going to lift the bike up here and show you how I go about mounting this, my process here. All right. So we got the bike come back down. Now I'm going to try to zoom you in here. You can see the area I have to work with. I should have actually put this in first. I have the seat pan in place. It has the spacing on here, and then the piece back here, I'll lift it up. I can slide it back and forth. You can see that gap appearing. So I'm going to position that so it has just a little bit of gap, and then whenever I weld it flat, that'll pull the seat pan down. So that'll put a little tension on here, and that's what we want. We don't want it to just be, have any slack, because that'll create maybe a vibration that you might hear. So we create a little bit of tension, and that locks the seat pan in place in a nice spot. And then I've already taken the time to kind of estimate how far back it goes, to work with about how much curve I have left here. So as the seat comes up, it only has to come back just a little bit before it releases, which is good, because then once it comes back, we can lift the whole seat up. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, got the front mount just tacked in, just two places to keep it steady. I also trimmed the gaps on either side here just a little bit, but if you use two hands, slots in, and then I've kept my marks on my frame here just so I know where the seat pan is going to be square. So I'm going to go ahead and tape the seat pan down to the frame, and then I'll pull the cowl off, and then I'll start working on the rear mount here. Alright, so we got the rear cowl off, and I want to go ahead and start making these mounts in the back. And this seems silly, but if it makes sense, I guess, if it works, it works. This is actually just a regular old hitch pin. We're going to mimic this almost exactly. So if you look at it from the side, the hole this mounts in is right down there. So if that's sitting in there like that, you've got almost a good 90-degree surface to weld to the back of the pan. And I want to do it like that because you have to think, if we're going to go ahead and release the rear of the seat, it's going to come up, and then we'll be able to move it back, and then release the front, and then from there we can kind of take it off. So this needs to actually kind of kick out like that. And I might actually bend the piece I need to make lower, closer to 90, and we should be able to make it work. But good inspiration for this little guy right here. So we'll use this as like a guide. Get close to this and see how it works.
Little deer, monsters, elk with their face, just grab a hold of them, rip them apart. Yeah. They're so strong, man.
It's like you up because they're cute looking. They look like cuddly, but they're not.
They're like a 900-pound Rottweiler.
Do you ever watch those things where guys like hug them? Cats never care.
Those predatory looking
Bangles in the circles. Yeah, of course. You got a bobcat in your yard, dude. Just walking around. What do you do in that instant? You don't care. It's small.
My daughter took the photo. I wasn't there.
Okay.
It wasn't that small. I mean, it was about 35 pounds.
That's if she sent you the photo immediately.
Yeah, she sent me the photo.
And what do you do?
Like,
Do you go get inside?
shit.
Like,
Holy shit. It was my older daughter. So but she's smart to know.
she knows, yeah.
But the thing about it is, like, they're always going to be around. Like, we live in LA. And
Yeah.
if you live in LA, right?
All right, little heating, little bending, and we got a couple pieces here. Now, like I said, they're bent a little bit further than the receiver pin there. So after those things cool off, I'm going to go ahead and come over here and start trimming them for the actual hole in the release mechanism, because there's a pin that I have to cut a groove for. So think of it like what an axe mark looks like into a tree that you're getting ready to cut down. So we're going to cut a little wedge out of that, and then trim the length, and then just start working on getting it mounted. But another thing I'm considering, since the seat pan is a little it's 14 gauge, it's not like really thick material, I might cut another plate, just to have a reinforcement plate to weld back here to keep this solid, and then weld those pieces to that. And I might even drill a hole and extend those things through so I can weld on both sides. So I don't know, we'll figure it out though. Okay, so you can see inside here you have the release mechanism. So if you look here, I've got a mark drawn. I've measured the height of where that's going to have to clip in. So next up, I'm just going to go ahead and notch these out, and then that should sit in there and kind of clip and not release. Alright, I'm getting ready to weld this in. So I've got my posts adjusted here, and I extend them fully up to the lock, and then they just barely touch the seat pan so it doesn't move. So I'm going to go ahead and lock these things in place, tack them down, and then I'm going to actually tack or weld the washer to this as like a stopper. And I'm going to try to keep some tension on that, so I'm not going to put like a rubber bushing underneath it, even though I probably should. I just think a solid stopper is going to be fine in this instance. So I'm gonna go ahead. All right, it goes on and off. So I'll show you. It's a little tricky. But I think with a little bit more adjustment, it'll be fine. So click it up, slide it back, pull it back there, rock it forward, and it's out. So seems like a decent system. So slide it, rear in, drop your front down, get it back, there you go. Lock the front end, drop that down. There it is. Cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and continue with just grinding this down here, and then I'll work on clearancing the fiberglass to make sure I have the clearance there to get the legs out. And then I'll end up boxing, just doing a plate here to box that little nub on. Weld those solid, and then I am going to build a reinforcement plate right here, just to mimic this curve, and it'll just be, you know, to reinforce where it's welded from the back, and the bend here, just to, since it's going to be kind of supported from this piece, I don't want the seat to kind of deform like that. So we're going to, you know, build all those pieces in. They'll be just simple little brackets. I probably won't show much of that. You'll understand what they're for, though. I'll show the end product, though.
It's just, it does nothing.
It's weird. My parents are 72, 70, 71, 72. My three parents, no, I don't know. But 72, so
I got 8 parents.
my mom, my dad, and my dad. And, you know, you gotta think about, like,
Yeah,
never just got home.
My mom's 73. Same deal. You know, they're things. It's true.
Yeah.
I mean, how many people are just barking fake news anytime there's something they don't like or
I
don't
mean,
agree with?
if you told me 5 years ago that you could just be like this, that's not true. When you know it's true and get away with it, I would be like, no. But you can.
As long as there's enough people that have your back. Do you know that there's
But that's
a
how you get
new
people that have your
super
back.
conservative network? Oh, what is it? OAN?
Oh, yes.
Where the guy literally says, even when I'm wrong, I'm right.
That's my favorite news then.
That's
If
how
that's what he does.
That's what he said.
I'm already done with it. Never mind. Alright, so that does it for the seat pan. Hopefully you picked up some tips on this one and maybe some things to apply on yours. But overall, I think this thing came out really well, and it doesn't use any real extravagant materials or anything like that. It's something that a lot of people can buy and work with. So just you know, use your brain, work through the problems, and you should be able to, you know, create a nice piece just like this. So I hope you liked the video, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.